My doctor looked at me across that cold, sterile desk, slid a piece of paper toward me, and said 4 words I will never forget. Your kidneys are failing. I was 68 years old. I thought I was healthy. I walked every morning. I didn't smoke. I barely drank. I thought I was doing everything right. But I wasn't. And the worst part? The 5 habits that were slowly destroying my kidneys weren't dramatic. They weren't obvious. They were small, everyday things I had been doing for decades, things most doctors never warn you about, things that millions of people do every single day without knowing the damage they're causing. My name doesn't matter. What matters is this: 4 years later, I'm 72 years old, my kidney function has improved significantly, and I'm here to tell you everything I learned the hard way. If you are over 40, if you care about your health, if you don't want to end up sitting in a doctor's office hearing those 4 words, please watch this entire video. Because what I'm about to share could genuinely change, or save, your life. Before I tell you about the 5 habits, I need you to understand something. Something that took me years to truly grasp. Your kidneys are working right now. At this very moment, as you're watching this video, your 2 kidneys, each roughly the size of a fist, sitting just below your ribcage on either side of your spine, are filtering your entire blood supply. Every single minute, your kidneys filter about half a cup of blood. In one day, they filter around 200 liters. 200 liters. That's almost 50 gallons of blood, clean and processed every single day of your life. They remove waste products. They regulate your blood pressure. They control how much fluid your body retains. They produce hormones that tell your bones how to absorb calcium. They tell your body when to produce red blood cells. Your kidneys are doing all of this, silently, constantly, without complaint. And here is the most dangerous thing about kidney disease: it has no symptoms in the early stages. None. You can lose up to 90% of your kidney function before you feel anything at all. No pain. No warning. Nothing. By the time most people find out their kidneys are in trouble, the damage is already severe. This is why kidney disease is called the silent killer. And this is exactly what happened to me. When I finally got tested, and I only got tested because a routine blood panel flagged something unusual, my kidneys were already functioning at less than 40% of normal capacity. I had stage 3 chronic kidney disease, and I had absolutely no idea. I felt tired sometimes. I thought that was just getting older. My ankles were a little swollen occasionally. I thought I'd been on my feet too much. I had to urinate more at night. I thought that was just aging. Those were my kidneys. Crying for help. And I didn't hear them. So if you take only one thing from this video, let it be this: don't wait for symptoms. By the time symptoms appear, you may already be in serious trouble. The habits I'm about to describe, I was doing all 5 of them. All 5. And every single one of them was quietly, systematically damaging my kidneys without me knowing. Let's talk about them one by one. The first habit that was destroying my kidneys was something I never considered a problem. I wasn't drinking enough water. Now, before you think I know this already, everyone says drink more water, please stay with me. Because this isn't about the general advice to stay hydrated. This is specifically about what chronic, low-grade dehydration does to your kidneys over years and decades. And it's far more serious than most people realize. Here's what happens inside your kidneys when you don't drink enough. Your kidneys need water, a constant, steady supply of water, to flush waste products out of your blood and out of your body through urine. These waste products include urea, creatinine, uric acid, and dozens of other compounds that your body produces naturally as it functions. When there isn't enough water flowing through your kidneys, these waste products become concentrated. The urine becomes thick and dark. And instead of flowing freely through the delicate tubules inside your kidneys, these concentrated waste products can crystallize. That crystallization is the beginning of kidney stones. But even before stones form, the simple act of forcing your kidneys to work with insufficient water, day after day, year after year, causes what researchers call chronic hyperfiltration stress. Your kidneys are working harder than they should, with less of what they need to do their job, and over time, the delicate filtering units inside them, called nephrons, begin to break down. You are born with roughly 1 million nephrons in each kidney. And unlike most cells in your body, nephrons cannot regenerate. When they're gone, they're gone. I was a coffee drinker. I had 3, sometimes 4 cups a day. I thought that counted as fluid intake. I was wrong. Caffeine is a mild diuretic. It actually causes your body to excrete more fluid than you take in. So every cup of coffee I drank without a corresponding glass of water was putting me slightly further into deficit. I was also a tea drinker in the evenings. Same problem. By the time I got to mid-afternoon on a typical day, I had consumed maybe 400 or 500 milliliters of plain water. That's less than 2 glasses. For a man my size, about 175 pounds, the recommended intake is somewhere between 2.5 and 3 liters per day. I was hitting less than a fifth of that. My urine, when I paid attention to it, which I rarely did, was almost always dark yellow. Sometimes amber. I thought that was normal. It isn't. Healthy, well-hydrated kidneys produce pale straw-colored urine. Dark yellow urine is your kidneys telling you they don't have enough water to dilute the waste they're processing. I ignored that signal for years. When I changed this habit, when I committed to drinking 2.5 liters of plain water every single day, starting with a large glass first thing every morning before coffee or anything else, my kidney numbers began to stabilize within 3 months. My nephrologist, my kidney specialist, said the improvement in my creatinine levels from hydration alone was more significant than she typically sees from medication in early-stage patients. Water. Plain, simple, free water. Now, the question I get asked most often when I talk about this is, does it have to be plain water? Can I count herbal tea, soup, sparkling water? Here's what my doctor told me. Plain water is the gold standard. Herbal teas, without caffeine, count for about 80% of their volume. Broths and soups count for some fluid but also bring sodium, which can actually work against the kidneys. Sparkling water is fine, but some people find the carbonation causes bloating and they drink less of it. Black tea and coffee, as I mentioned, are net negative for hydration. The goal is simple. Before you have your morning coffee, drink a full glass of water. Keep a water bottle on your desk or wherever you spend most of your day. Set a reminder on your phone if you need to. The single most important thing I did for my kidney health cost me nothing and required nothing more than paying attention. And yet I had ignored it for over 40 years. The second habit is one that I am almost certain affects a large percentage of everyone watching this video. I was taking over-the-counter painkillers regularly. Casually. Without a second thought. Ibuprofen. Naproxen. These are what doctors call NSAIDs, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. They're sold everywhere. Pharmacies, supermarkets, petrol stations. They work quickly, they're effective, and for years, for decades, I took them the way most people do. Headache. Ibuprofen. Sore back from gardening. Ibuprofen. Stiff knees after a long walk. Ibuprofen. A bit of arthritis flaring up. Ibuprofen. I had absolutely no idea what I was doing to my kidneys. Here is the mechanism. NSAIDs work by blocking a group of chemicals in your body called prostaglandins. Prostaglandins cause inflammation and pain, so blocking them reduces both. That's why they work. But prostaglandins also serve another function that most people don't know about. In your kidneys, prostaglandins help regulate blood flow. They keep the blood vessels in your kidneys dilated, open, so that blood can flow freely through the filtering units. When you take an NSAID, you block the prostaglandins everywhere in your body, including your kidneys. The blood vessels in your kidneys partially constrict. Blood flow to the kidneys drops. The kidneys receive less oxygen. The filtering pressure increases. And if this happens occasionally, in a healthy young person, the kidneys recover. But if you are over 50, if you are even mildly dehydrated, which I was, constantly, as I just described, if you have any existing reduction in kidney function, which I did, silently, without knowing, then every single dose of ibuprofen you take is causing measurable damage. The medical literature on this is absolutely clear. Long-term, regular use of NSAIDs is one of the leading causes of chronic kidney disease in people over 50. This is not a rare or disputed finding. It is established, consensus medicine. And yet nobody told me. My GP knew I was taking ibuprofen regularly. It was in my notes. She never flagged it as a kidney risk. The packets themselves carry warnings, but they're in small print, buried in a list of other possible side effects, and the word kidneys doesn't appear prominently anywhere on the packaging at your supermarket. When my nephrologist reviewed my history and saw how much ibuprofen I had been taking over the previous 15 years, she said, and I remember this clearly, this is very likely a significant contributing factor. I stopped taking NSAIDs completely. For pain, I shifted to paracetamol, which, taken at normal doses, is much less harmful to kidneys. For my joint pain, I worked with a physiotherapist and made dietary changes to reduce systemic inflammation. Turmeric with black pepper. Omega-3 fatty acids. Reducing processed sugar. The joint pain, incidentally, improved significantly when I addressed the underlying inflammation rather than just masking it with tablets. That was an unexpected benefit I hadn't anticipated. If you take ibuprofen, naproxen, or any other NSAID regularly, please talk to your doctor. Please ask specifically about kidney impact. Please do not assume that because something is sold without a prescription, it is safe to take frequently. It is not. Not for your kidneys. Not over time. The third habit is one that I think surprises people the most, because it's not about something obviously unhealthy. It's about salt. I ate a high-sodium diet for most of my adult life. And I want to be clear, I didn't think of myself as someone who ate a lot of salt. I didn't add heaps of salt at the table. I didn't eat fast food every day. I thought my diet was fairly reasonable. But I was eating a lot of processed food. Tin soups. Packaged sauces. Bread, which contains far more sodium than most people realize. Cheese. Processed meats like ham and salami. Ready meals a few times a week. All of these foods contain substantial amounts of sodium, and it adds up extremely quickly without you ever reaching for the salt shaker. Here is what high sodium does to your kidneys. Your kidneys are the primary regulators of sodium in your body. When you consume sodium, it enters your bloodstream. Your kidneys then work to filter it out and excrete the excess through urine. This is a normal process. But when the amount of sodium coming in consistently exceeds what your kidneys can comfortably handle, several things begin to go wrong. First, high sodium raises blood pressure. This is well known. But the kidney connection is more specific than people realize. High blood pressure doesn't just damage your heart, it damages the delicate blood vessels inside your kidneys. These vessels are extraordinarily fine, almost hair-thin, and they operate at very specific pressures. When blood pressure rises chronically, those vessels thicken, stiffen, and narrow. The filtering capacity of the nephrons they supply begins to decline. Second, when your kidneys are constantly processing high loads of sodium, they begin to retain water to try to maintain the correct sodium-to-water ratio in your blood. This water retention raises blood pressure further. It's a reinforcing cycle. Third, high sodium intake directly increases the amount of protein that leaks through the kidney's filtering membranes into the urine, a condition called proteinuria. Proteinuria is both a sign of kidney damage and a cause of further damage. It's a warning sign, and it's also making things worse. When I had my full kidney workup, I had mild proteinuria. My doctor explained that the chronically elevated sodium intake I had been consuming was almost certainly a contributing factor. I reduced my sodium intake dramatically. The target I was given was under 2,000 milligrams per day, about a teaspoon of salt in total from all sources. To achieve that, I had to stop buying most processed foods. I started cooking from fresh ingredients most days. I replaced salt in cooking with herbs, lemon juice, and spices. I began reading nutrition labels, specifically looking at sodium content. This was the most difficult of the 5 habit changes for me. Not because salt cravings are overwhelming, they actually diminish significantly within 2 to 3 weeks once you reduce intake and your taste receptors readjust. The difficulty was practical. So much of convenient, affordable food contains enormous amounts of sodium. But within 6 months of making this change, my blood pressure dropped from an average of 138/88 to 122/76 without any change in medication. My proteinuria resolved almost completely. And my nephrologist noted measurable stabilization in my overall kidney function scores. Salt is not evil. Sodium is an essential mineral. But the amount most people in the modern world consume, typically 2 to 4 times the recommended amount, is causing silent, cumulative damage to millions of kidneys right now. The fourth habit is one that connects to what is currently the single largest cause of chronic kidney disease in the world. Diabetes, and specifically uncontrolled blood sugar, is responsible for approximately 40% of all end-stage kidney disease globally. But what most people don't know, what I certainly didn't know, is that you don't have to have diagnosed diabetes for elevated blood sugar to be damaging your kidneys. I was pre-diabetic for years without knowing it. I was one of those people. I wasn't eating candy all day. I wasn't drinking sugary sodas by the liter. But I was eating a diet that was consistently high in refined carbohydrates. White bread. White rice. Pasta. Breakfast cereals. Biscuits with my afternoon tea. A dessert most evenings. Every time I ate these foods, my blood sugar spiked. My pancreas released insulin to bring it back down. The spike, the crash, the spike, the crash, day after day, year after year. And during those years of elevated and fluctuating blood sugar, something was happening in my kidneys that I had no awareness of. High blood sugar damages the kidneys through a specific mechanism. Glucose, sugar, in high concentrations in the bloodstream is chemically reactive. It binds to proteins in ways it shouldn't. This process is called glycation. And one of the places this glycation causes the most damage is in the tiny blood vessels of the kidneys. The filtration units in your kidneys, the glomeruli, are made up of extremely fine capillaries, and they are particularly susceptible to damage from chronically elevated glucose. Over years, this damage causes a condition called diabetic nephropathy, kidney disease caused by blood sugar dysregulation. And critically, this damage begins not when you develop diabetes, but when you enter the prediabetic range. It begins with chronically elevated blood sugar, even below the diabetic threshold. When my nephrologist ran a full panel, she found that my HbA1c, a measure of average blood sugar over the previous 3 months, was 6.1%. The normal range is below 5.7%. Diabetes is diagnosed at 6.5%. I was at 6.1%. Firmly in the prediabetic zone. She told me that this level of blood sugar dysregulation, sustained over years, was almost certainly a contributing factor to my kidney decline. I made significant dietary changes. I reduced refined carbohydrates substantially. I replaced white rice and bread with lower glycemic alternatives, whole grains, legumes, vegetables. I started walking for 20 minutes after my main meal each day, because post-meal walking has been shown in research to significantly blunt the blood sugar spike from eating. Within 4 months, my HbA1c dropped to 5.5%, back into the normal range. Without medication. Through diet and movement alone. I'm not saying this will be the same for everyone. If you have been told you are diabetic or prediabetic, please work with your doctor. But I want you to understand that the connection between blood sugar and kidney health is direct, well established, and starts well below the threshold of a diabetes diagnosis. Get your HbA1c checked. It's a simple blood test. Know where you are. Don't wait. The fifth habit is the simplest and in some ways the most important. I never got my kidneys checked. For 40 years of my adult life, I had regular blood pressure checks. I had cholesterol checks. I had, eventually, the blood sugar checks I just described. But nobody ever specifically tested my kidney function as part of a routine health screen until that blood panel that finally flagged something at age 68. Kidney function can be assessed with 2 very simple, inexpensive tests. The first is a blood test called serum creatinine, from which your doctor can calculate your eGFR, your estimated glomerular filtration rate. This tells you, as a percentage of normal, how well your kidneys are filtering. A result above 90 is normal. 60 to 89 is mild reduction. 30 to 59 is moderate reduction. This is where I was. Below 15 is kidney failure. The second is a simple urine test, a urine albumin to creatinine ratio, which checks whether protein is leaking through your kidney filters into your urine. It should not be there. If it is a sign of kidney damage. These 2 tests together give an accurate, early picture of kidney health. They are not expensive. They are not complicated. They can be requested as part of a routine blood and urine panel. And they are not routinely offered to most people. I have spoken to many people my age and older who have never once had their kidney function specifically tested. Not because they refused it. Because nobody told them they should ask for it. I am telling you now.
If you are over 40, ask your doctor for a kidney function check at your next appointment. If you are over 50, it should be part of your annual health review. If you have diabetes, prediabetes, high blood pressure, a family history of kidney disease, or if you have been a regular user of NSAIDs, ask for it specifically. Do not assume it will be included in a general check. In many healthcare systems, it won't be unless you ask. The reason this matters so much is this: at stage 1 and 2 of kidney disease, with the right interventions, the progression can be stopped and sometimes reversed. At stage 3, where I was, it can be significantly slowed. At stage 4 and 5, the options become much more limited. Early detection changes outcomes. It changed mine. If I had been tested at 55 or 60, I would have caught this earlier. The changes I made at 68 could have been made at 58. 10 years of damage could have been prevented. Please get tested. I want to close by telling you what my daily life looks like now. Not to preach, and not to suggest that everyone needs to live exactly as I do. But because when I was first told about my kidneys, the most useful thing I could have heard was from someone who had actually navigated this: what did you change, and did it work? So here is what I changed, and here is what happened. Every morning, I wake up and drink a large glass of plain water before anything else. Before coffee, before breakfast, before I check my phone. It took about 2 weeks to become automatic. Now it feels wrong not to do it. I drink at least 2.5 liters of water throughout the day. I keep a 500 milliliters bottle on my desk and refill it 5 times. I check the color of my urine, pale straw is the goal. If it's getting dark, I drink more. I stop taking ibuprofen. For any pain that requires treatment, I use paracetamol at the recommended dose, and I work to address the underlying cause rather than simply mask the symptom. My joint pain, addressed through diet and physiotherapy, is genuinely better now than it was when I was masking it with anti-inflammatories every other day. I cook from fresh ingredients most days. I read sodium labels. I use herbs and spices. I eat far fewer processed foods than I used to. I'm not perfect at this, and I don't think perfection is the goal, but the baseline is fundamentally different from what it was. I reduced refined carbohydrates and increased vegetables, legumes, and whole grains. My blood sugar is in the normal range. My energy levels are, honestly, better than they were in my early 60s, when I was eating badly and wondering why I felt so tired all the time. I get my kidney function and blood sugar checked every 6 months. I know my numbers. I track them over time. Knowing my numbers gives me a sense of agency over my own health that I never had before. And my kidneys? My eGFR at diagnosis was 38. Within 18 months of making these changes, it had risen to 54. My nephrologist describes this as an unusually positive response. She attributes it to the combination of changes made consistently, without medication for the kidney disease itself. I am not a doctor. I am not giving medical advice. I am telling you what happened to me, what I learned, and what changed. Please speak to your own doctor before making any significant changes to your health routine. But I am asking you, please do not wait until someone slides a piece of paper across a desk at you and says 4 words that change everything. The habits that damaged my kidneys were not dramatic. They were ordinary. And the habits that helped to heal them were not complicated. They were simple. Water. Awareness. Movement. Fresh food. And a blood test. That's it. If this video helped you in any way, please share it with someone you care about. The person who needs to hear this might be your parent, your partner, your friend. They might have no symptoms. They might think they're fine. Most of us do. Thank you for watching. Take care of your kidneys. They are working for you, right now, without complaint. Please return the favor.